All right, we're all set. Let's go. Let's do this. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to my stream. I'm Pierre, your host. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I know that I did. So, my friends, usually we start off our show by going over to the computer, checking out a quick recap of what we did on Friday, and then we tackle our day from there. But we're not going to do that today for the simple reason that last Friday, all we did was add a second coat of paint to the background. So there's nothing really worth seeing, nothing that exciting. So we are going to continue, though, our painting. And what are we going to do? Well, first of all, this is the first time I ever used this color, right? So I'm a little surprised because usually when I put two coats, all the paintbrush marks disappear with the second coat. Here, apparently, I can still see them, which, okay, very good. It's a magenta azo is the name of this color. It was a gift from a friend, so I'd never painted or tried it before. So I'm not going to put a third coat. I mean, I think there's no point of doing that. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to start off by putting some shadowing, a little darker, maybe a little lighter. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to screw around a little bit with this color and see what looks the best. And then eventually I'll probably start putting a first coat on the frame. So let's do that. First, I'm going to grab this magenta, oh, it's magenta acra, not magenta azo, okay? Magenta acra, very good. So where's my little knife? There it is. So I'm not exactly sure what I should do with this to add a little richness, some depth to this background. I might just mix in a little bit of maybe just a little bit of black, just to make it a little darker. I'm going to try that on the palette first, just a little bit to see what that looks like. Of course, when I usually do some shadowing on the backgrounds, I like it to be relatively discreet. I know a lot of contrast looks great on the camera, but in reality, you want it to be discreet. So that's what we're going to do. So let me just clean off my knife again, make sure the materials are all nice and clean. Just like my rag. I want that to be nice and clean as well. Okay. So I have that done. Let me just grab a little bit of black paint here. I'm just going to put a little bit on the side, not knowing really what's going to happen. I don't think I'm going to need all that much, so I'm going to be very careful with it. And actually, I guess I'll go over to camera number 1 and we can blend this in together. Let me just clean off once again my knife so when I need it next time, it'll be ready to go. And I might as well, since it's going to be shadowing, I don't need that much of a paintbrush, so I might as well grab the right paintbrush right away. And what do I usually use? I have 2-3 paintbrushes I use just for that. And this looks like one of them. So I have several choices here. I don't know why I'm hesitating. Probably because it's Monday morning and I'm not quite awake yet. So I'm going to try this one. I haven't used this in quite a while. And since everything is new, the color of the painting, the shape of the triangle is new, might as well use a new brush as well. So in the meantime, I'm going to bring camera number 1 a little bit closer. Right about here. I also have my little stool right there where I'm going to put a jar of water on that right now. There we go. And I'll just switch over to camera number 1. There we go. So first I'm going to just work the magenta, because it is, I guess, a little stiff. So I'm going to work that first, get that to be the right texture, the right consistencies, that it will glide on the painting the way it should. Even though I'm not going to be painting, I'll just be dabbing my brush to make these shadows. Need a little more water. It's a hot day today in southern France. I have the fan on medium. It sure feels good. So that looks pretty good. That is the color of our background. Now, I'm a little nervous here. I must admit, I'm a little nervous. I'm not sure how much I should add. I'm just going to put a little bit. As you can see, just a little dab will do ya. And it seems to darken very quickly. Hopefully not too quickly. I don't want it to get too dark as well. And I am going to rinse off my brush right away. I'm going to just stir all this stuff up. Get it to be nice and homogeneous. Even darker. This is a pretty magenta, I must admit. But like I said, I want the shadowing to be very discreet. I'm not sure how discreet this is going to be. So the best way to find out is just to move the camera up to the canvas. And let's just try a little area right there. So I'll zoom in. Can go just a little bit higher right there. Of course, the camera is going out of focus. What the hell? Come on now. Jesus. Okay, so let's try. So that is going to be really dark. Because I know that paint, as it dries, has a tendency to darken even more. So you know what I'm going to do? I am just going to come back down here. And I'm going to go back to the other camera and add a little more paint. Seem to be making a mess of things this morning. Jesus, look at my hands, full of magenta. Okay, so let me get my knife again. And I'm going to add quite a bit more of this magenta, hopefully to lighten it up a little bit. Not really convinced it's going to do the trick though. I had a feeling it was going to darken very quickly. And even though there's going to be quite a bit of more on top of this shadowing that you'll barely even notice it's there when it's done, I still want it to be kind of pleasing for myself. So there we go. I'm going to come back to camera number 1 and we can again, so there's a little bit lighter. I don't know if you can tell. It's a little bit lighter than what we had before. So hopefully I'm not going to use all of this. I'm going to move some of it to the side just like that. And hopefully by being 50-50, it will lighten up our darker magenta by 50%. So it does need quite a bit more water because it's awfully stiff. So let me just blend this all in together. Seems like it lightened it up a little bit. I'll just do this a few more seconds and then we'll do the same thing as before. We'll just do a little tryout on a part of the canvas. I'm going to add just a whisker more water because the paint doesn't need to be that thick. Okay, so let's try this. See where we're at with this. So I'll bring the camera back up. I will zoom in on my hand. You can see what we did a few minutes ago. So I'm just going to go underneath that, right about in here. And it is quite a bit lighter, as you can tell. I'm just going to go over that. And I think this will do the trick. It's going to be darker as it dries, but then again, there's going to be tons of details on top of this and plants and whatnot. So that's very good. So I'll pull the camera back a little bit, go on this upper left-hand corner where I usually start. And I'll just dab away. Then I'll move my stool back and move the camera off to the side so I'm not in front of the lens. There we go. Just like that. Whoa, what is all this? All right, looking good. The camera down. I'll just kind of zoom out a little bit so I don't have to move the camera every 5 seconds. Now I have no idea what I'm going to do in the middle in this triangle, but I'll worry about that when we get to it, which isn't going to be for a while because we are going to be concentrating on the background. All right. Camera over a little bit and, oops, no, we want to go the other way. There we go, zoom in. There we go. Funny how you can see through this color. It really isn't very opaque at all. I'm quite surprised about that. Let me move the camera over for that upper right-hand corner like that. All right. That looks pretty good. Let's go up here now. Okay, so I was right on one thing, that it does darken as it dries. So that whole part of not being opaque enough, I don't have to worry about, because I can see what we did at the beginning is already just about dry with the fan, and it had darkened quite a bit. So that's pretty good. All right. I'll come on down right about in that area right there. Am I going to have enough paint? I'm not sure. Probably not. Since this is a different color, different shape background, or it's triangle, kind of lost a little bit of my references in quantity of paints or whatever. Amazing. It doesn't take much for one to lose oneself. Okay. So I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to go down in this right-hand corner here. I'm going to grab my chair for a second. Just like that. I don't know if the camera is picking up on this darker magenta or not. Hopefully it is. Okay, let's work our way. I'll zoom in a little bit. Just pull it in right there. Okay, very good. So I do have to bring this camera and move that over a little bit. And I am going to check on my microphone, because usually I have my microphone in front, but I keep catching the wires. So I kind of did like the pros do and make it go in my back. Of course, usually the professionals have some gorgeous assistant doing that. I don't have that luxury, so I did it on my own. And I noticed as I sat down, I think I pulled the microphone off, or at least the transmitter. So I think that's okay now. There. Yeah, I wish I had a 20-year-old assistant. But the way it goes. So let me just stand back while I'm here, take a look at where we're at. Okay, very good. So I'm going to come back to this left-hand side, actually, and work my way down from there. So what camera am I on? I'm on camera number 2. So I'll switch back to camera number 1. There we go. Oops, nope. That is the little window, pop-up window. This is the one we want. There we go. Using the shortcuts from my keyboard to move around on my cameras. And then, not to get screwed up, I put my little logo on the upper left-hand camera when I'm using camera number 2. because it's on the left-hand side of my computer when I'm looking at it, and I put my logo on the upper right-hand side when I'm camera number 1. Just another way for me to know where I'm at, so I can concentrate on the painting rather than on the cameras. But I do get lost sometimes. There we go. Let me bring this down a little bit. I'll get in that lower corner now. I'll sit on my chair and kind of hopefully not pull off my microphone or transmitter again, but I'm not sure. Hopefully it worked out. Just one more thing I have to worry about. I'm gonna have to figure out something about that microphone. Maybe make a hole in my t-shirt. After all, it's only a t-shirt to paint with, and pass the microphone wire in there. That could be a solution as well, rather than going through my back. Okay, so let's continue down this way. I mean, I like to get all these technical things resolved like that. I don't have to think about them, but I know there's always something technical that screws up. And that's, I guess, live coverage. And I guess it's the same for everybody, because I watch the news quite a bit on YouTube. And I notice on these programs like Morning Joe or whatever, you can, hear you can pick up on a lot of mistakes they make. Microphones being left on and hearing parasite noises, sneezing. So I guess you just have to expect it with live coverage. So I think we are basically done here with the shadowing of this part, at least. So, and my transmitter again fell off my pants. So this is not going to be the right solution. Of course, the guys who do this in the studio, they don't sit down and stand up and move around. They're sitting down all the time, so they don't have this problem. And before I had the wire, instead of going over my shoulder and down my back, I had it going down the front. But there, when I'd bend over, I'd often catch the wire with my hand, and I noticed the black wire had gold paint on it. And so that started to bother me, and that's why I changed it, but apparently not working out that well. So now where are we at? Let me just step back for a second, take a look. I think that looks okay. Boy, it's really dark. When it darkens, it darkens. Very dark over here. Like I said, there are going to be plants, and so it doesn't really matter. The question is, can I make this magenta a little lighter for the shadowing? And that, to make it lighter, I would have to add some white paint, and I don't think that's going to look good. I don't think it will look good. I'm going to try it with just a little hair of white, just to prove myself that it's not going to work. So I'll do this on the corner. I'll mix this in with you guys on camera number 1. First, I got to clean off my knife. Boy, this magenta sure gets around everywhere. Ugh, what a messy color. Okay, so let me clean off, there we go, my brush, grab some water, and I'm going to come over to camera number 1. over here. Move it back for a second. So, as you can see, this is what we were using before, the darker magenta right here. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of this white and see what that does. I really didn't put that much in there. It's like the black. It really changes the color very quickly. So, again, like with the black, I want this to be very discreet as well. So, looks like we're almost back to the original color. I'm not sure. So let's bring the camera up and zoom in a little bit. I can try it right about here because here will be a plant eventually. So I don't really have to worry about it too much. Let's see what this does. Well, I don't see much of a difference. If I add more white, is that going to look any better? It's going to change the whole, palette. As you can see, I added just a little bit more white. And now it's really in the magentas and pinks. And that's not really what I want. You know, look at that. It's a pretty color, but it's not really what I want for shadowing. So we're going to drop that idea of adding white. I had a feeling it wasn't really going to work out. So where are we at? So you know what I'm going to do, because this isn't quite dry yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the background to our border. And I think I'm going to go with some green paint for that. And that also will need 2 coats. So if we can get the first coat on today, maybe the second coat tomorrow, add some shadowing. Though tomorrow I'm probably going to start on the details of the purple with some gold rings, what I call electromagnetic waves. And what am I doing right now? I'm looking for my knife, a palette. Should I use a cap? I'm going to use a different palette for that. There we go. Just scrape off a little bit of this yellow paint on the blue. There we go. And I'm going to use some of this green paint. I'm putting quite a bit of paint there because I can always, since I'm not blending it with another color, I can always put the excess back in the jar. When I'm done, again, cleaning off the knife. It's almost a daily ritual. And of course, cleaning off the knife to make it nice and clean. Well, again, this is what I consider a clean knife. So it's everything is pretty relative, right? I'll come back to camera number 1 here. See, this is what I consider a clean knife. So obviously I've had this knife for God knows how long, 30 years or if not more. So there we go. Now let's get the paint ready. I'm going to use this brush right here. And just like before, I'm going to add water and blend in this green paint with water to get a nice texture, consistency to this paint so it will just glide on the canvas the way it should. I think I should have grabbed a bigger palette. I have to be careful with this one not to splatter green paint all over the place. The only place where it matters are my glasses and my face. My clothes and the floor doesn't really matter. Everything is protected. There we go. Let me just add a little more water. I mean, I'm not going to do this on the camera because it's just adding water to green paint. Nothing that thrilling, nothing that difficult to do. Definitely don't have to be a quantum physicist to do this. Bum, 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 bum. In my neighborhood, in my neighborhood. Dr. Alimentado. So, how am I doing here? Do I have a lot of water on my brush? A little bit, not too much. So, I think I'm all set. I might have to add water as I go along. I definitely do not want this paint to start dripping though on the canvas, that's for sure. So let's go in that upper left-hand corner. I am also gonna put my plug in the camera onto the power. There we go. Sure it doesn't shut off in the middle of the broadcast. Okay, so I am going to move this back, move the camera to the side, so I'm not in front of the lens like I just said a few minutes ago. Oop, there we go. And let's start in. Let's start in right up here. So I'm going with green, but originally I thought I would do a black background, so it goes to show that things can change very quickly. Today I see green, so I'm going with the green. There will be a black border between the magenta and the green. There's no need for me to hug that line so closely, but yet I can't help myself doing that. There will be two coats, so I don't have to be that difficult. Here, I'll continue on the top part. There'll be two coats and then that black background on the inside and outside edge, plus the shadowing. So my son's school stops tomorrow, and he's on vacation all summer. He's 17, so I'm going to have to figure out something to do. Get him a summer job or something. There we go. So let me bring the camera over as I go down this right-hand side. Just like that. Just added a little bit of water. It's going down the side. I don't have to worry about it dripping, which is what it's doing. Get rid of that excess water by going down this outer edge. There we go. Come on, baby. There we go. I guess I'll have plenty of paint on my palette, so that's cool. Go, let's get all the way down here. Now I don't dare sit down because of my microphone. So let's see if I can't do the standing up. Not quite as comfortable, but since it is just the background, I guess it doesn't matter. So let me bring the camera back a little bit and move it over here, and we'll finish this left-hand side first. I'll switch cameras also as well. There we go. The second coat will take care of all the little details. There we go. I see that the staple holding the canvas to the wall broke apart right here, so I guess it doesn't matter really for what I'm doing. Get rid of the staple. There we go. I'll put another staple when I start doing the details on this background of the frame. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, this is going to be a short stream, I'm afraid. We're just about done for the day here. And tomorrow we'll tackle the next step, which is the details to the background. Let's not get sloppy here in the last few seconds. There we go. All right, very good. So, what does all this give us? Let me pull the camera back here. So that's what it looks with camera number 2. Then camera number 1. And there we have it. That is the conclusion of today's painting. Let me see what it looks like from up front. Yeah, you can see the shading a lot darker. It's going to get even darker, I bet, as it dries overnight. But anyways, so it doesn't look too bad. I'm not too unhappy with that. I'm still not exactly sure what I'm going to do next. Do I go with these electromagnetic waves and then add my little planets like I usually do, or, well, I guess we'll decide all that tomorrow. So anyways, my friends, I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you'll join me tomorrow as we continue on this painting, see where this adventure leads us to. And I'm going to leave you, like usual, with 2 things. The first is my schedule, and the second is by saying, ciao, mes amis.